It was really even in high school. I grew up in the Deep South. You know, I fell in love with theater. I fell in love with cinema, and I told my parents, I told my father, you know, this is what I want to do. I want to make movies. And my father said, "Have you ever met anybody ever who worked on a movie?" I said, "No." He said, "People like us don't make movies. We don't go off and make movies." Now I said, "You know, I think people make movies. They come from everywhere. I think real people do it, and this is simply what I want to do. I want to do it." And my father thought I was out of my mind. And I went to New York at 17, right out of high school. And there's a saying in America, I couldn't get arrested. I couldn't even get arrested in the movie business. I couldn't get hired to do anything, not sweep up, not get coffee, nothing. I met somebody trying to make this feature-length documentary about the anti-Vietnam War movement, a guy named Glenn Silber, and he was doing it out in Wisconsin. I said, okay, I'll go out there. I'll go out there and help him. And we ended up co-producing and co-directing the movie together. And that was really it was really my film school. The film came out and did incredibly well. Incredibly well. I mean, it even got nominated for an Oscar. For my father, it was like, how did you know? How did you know? And I said, I didn't know, Dad. I didn't know. I had no idea. This is just something that I wanted to do, and I had to do it. Well, my collaboration with Spike Lee is a really big subject. I probably will someday have to write a book about it because it's so big and it's so long. We've known each other for 40 years. We grew up together in cinema. We learned so much together. He was one of the first people that understood that I could edit. He understood I could edit before I understood that I could edit. You know, it has been a love affair, really. I've never actually used that phrase before in my talking about my collaboration all these years with Spike. But I gotta tell you, it is like a love affair. We were very, very lucky to find each other very young and to be able to grow together and work together. You know, I cut one scene in his very first film, She's Gotta Have It, but I did all the sound editing. And then from that point on, you know, he wanted me to edit. And I thought he was out of his mind. I thought he was a fool. But I thought, I need a job. I'm definitely gonna edit for Spike until the time that somebody from the studios come in and says, "All right, buddy, come on, let's go." You know, you're not an editor. And so, you know, it gave me this incredible opportunity to be able to learn on the job, to be able to work on films like Do the Right Thing and Malcolm X and He Got Game and Summer of Sam and 25th Hour, which I just adore this movie, Inside Man, and then most recently Black Klansman, and all the different work that we've done. I mean, we did commercials together, we've done music videos together or short films. It's constantly has been a learning experience. And Spike says the same thing. We did an interview very recently together, and he pointed that out. He said, we are constantly learning. And I think that that's a gift after all these years to still be learning. I had somebody who completely believed in me and who was one of the great directors and who was somebody who was also a very close friend of mine. I mean, I thank my lucky stars. I thank my lucky stars. Do the Right Thing impacted me probably more than any other film. I love that film, Do the Right Thing. And for me, it's a magical film. It was a magical script. Spike wrote what for me is a perfect story, which is you start at some point like dominoes. One domino knocks down the other, knocks down the other, knocks down the other, and it just goes through and all the way, and it concludes. And to me, that is perfect cinematic storytelling. I look back at Do the Right Thing and I can still see it today and just marvel at it, you know? Yeah, I would say Do the Right Thing is the film that for me is special beyond everything. Well, you know, music videos, both feature films and documentaries and music videos, so much of it is just about timing. I've been able to work with incredible artists, you know, like Michael Jackson, like Arrested Development. But when you're talking about music videos, and I'm telling you, if Spike was seeing this right now, he would correct me right away. And because he's very influenced by Michael, and he would say short films. Because Michael always talked about them as short films. With a short musical film, in many ways, you have such freedom. You are just, let's throw everything up and let it fall. And let's see where it falls. And there is just this fun about it. Fun in just, where are we going? What are we doing? You know, there's something just remarkably nice about that and free. It's freeing. I've done very few of them. You know, when you go into these things, it's fun, you know? It's just fun. I think for me, in terms of directing documentaries over narrative films, I think it had much more to do with opportunities. Really, it did. I love narrative films. And right now, I'm really dedicated to directing narrative feature films. Given that, I'm in the midst of finishing 2 films, 2 documentaries that I'm directing. So, you know on paper it says, you might say, you don't really sound like you're so dedicated to it. But I really am. I'm finishing these 2 documentaries right now, Wish to Live and Longevity Revolution. And then after that, I'm directing a film in Malta called The Provider, which is dark fantasy, which is a script I wrote.
This is June 22nd, 1961. Can you recall your earliest memories of race?
You grab that bat and you do what's right.
I don't think so.
This is in your blood. All right, this is where you belong.
Get out of here!
I was in a riot and I walked right through it, unharmed.
Son, I'm starting to wonder if you are aware of the poison in the apple that you have bitten into.
You know, the reason why I wanted to make Bob Zellner's story is because I knew Bob. I've known him for about 35, 36 years. Back then in the mid-'80s, he would tell me these stories about his life in the civil rights movement in the early 60s. And they were just amazing stories. His story in the civil rights movement begins in Montgomery, Alabama. And I think there's a lot of people that know of Montgomery. It's an infamous place. It's where the civil rights movement started because Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat to a white man on a bus in 1955. Well, I am from Montgomery, Alabama. I'm from there. And so to be able to make a movie that is about my own childhood and the place I grew up in, and to be able to say things about that place, and to make it alive and real, and to make it about Bob Zellner, who personally I find is a very inspiring story. and that I could make this real. I can make that world real for people. You know, there's people that see the movie and they ask me, well, you know, there's a lot of humor in this movie. You know, and I say back to them, the South is a funny place. It's a very funny place, and people actually try to be funny, and sometimes they're funny inadvertently. But to watch a movie about the South that has no humor in it is, to me, to see a movie by people who don't really know the South. You know, and I wanted to bring you and everybody into this place that I know inside and out because I grew up in it. And I can make real people, not cardboard villains and not cardboard heroes, but real people. That's what I wanted to do with Son of the South. I like to be able to do a story like Son of the South as a narrative film because it allows me to play more with time, to develop characters, to develop scenes, to develop dialogue, to bring you into a place that I didn't really feel like I was going to be able to do in a documentary. There have been plenty of documentaries made about the civil rights movement. And there's not been a lot of feature narrative films made about the civil rights movement. And I truly believe that doing a narrative film about it gives you a whole different angle. That's hard to do in documentaries. Actually, I think it was on the first day of shooting. We were shooting this scene with Brian Dennehy and Lucas Till. Brian Dennehy, and this was Brian's last feature film. And it was a scene shot on a park bench. Brian Dennehy plays Bob Zellner's grandfather, who was in the Ku Klux Klan in Birmingham, Alabama. And he's just saying the most awful things, awful things about how the white man pulled civilization out of the muck. I mean, really a racist diatribe. And I'm sitting there on the very first take, watching the great Brian Dennehy deliver these lines, and I'm thinking, who wrote this? Who wrote this awful dialogue? And realizing, oh, buddy, you wrote it. You wrote it. And it's so accurate. And I had to come to terms with, inside of me are these people. These are real people. And they're very much alive deep inside of me. I can pull them out, you know? And I can write this. And it didn't even take me long to write that scene, I remember. It was otherworldly to me to direct that scene and then just watch it unfold and be shocked by it, absolutely shocked by a scene that I wrote. I am struck by having a film festival that's dedicated to historic films. I think this is rare. I actually don't know of any place in the world like this, that there is a festival that has dedicated themselves to this part of cinema. You know, I gotta tell you, I love the idea of it, and I love that Son of the South is a part of it. I have been in Toulouse only one time, and it was coming in to have lunch on my way from across southern France one time, and it's so great to be back here. You know, I'm struck by the energy of the area, and it's a thrill for me to be here, and it's a thrill for me to have my movie to be a part of this.